Good afternoon, evening, everybody. I am the Pissed Off Parent, welcoming you to the, reimagined idea that I've had for the Pissed Off Parent show. Have been doing it for a while, and then I decided to get out of it for a while, rest up, did a number of other things, and it's been kind of bugging me lately to start, working on it. I've been wanting to work on a new show for a while, and just have all this kind of creative energy, and I figure, you know what, I haven't really put a whole lot of time into it. Let's try to make something new, see where it goes. Trying to have that brand of education, edutainment, and just the typical pissed off parent stuff for those that know me personally and professionally. The format's going to be a little different. As you can see here, I have kind of I have a kind of a format to this, and it's going to evolve over time. And I'm hoping that as time goes on, we kind of it evolves and changes. But just kind of bear with me. This is the first run. I'm actually using new software, going about the whole thing. Actually, I developed all of this with free tools, so there's a lot of cool stuff, and there's things we're going to find out along the way. Like one of the things is actually chat on there when you do chats and stuff. We got some cool stuff there, and just different things. But this throwing it out there, seeing what happens. If it works out, great. If no one likes it, well, I just go back to the drawing board, try something else, or find a new creative outlet. But for the show, and there's going to be people that are going to join that have no idea what the pissed off parent is, who he is. We're going to actually get into that. But I wanted to talk about, what the show is. So, as I've written here previously, the Pissed Off Parent Show is a bold, no-holds-barred podcast dedicated to amplifying the voices of frustrated and alienated parents with a strong focus on fathers' rights. Make no mistake, I'm a guy. I have went through the courses, and I'll kind of talk about that here in a bit. But it's going to be, guy-focused. Again, it seems to happen every time we have the conversations. What about the ladies? What about the women? I don't have a problem. I'm remarried. I love women. I have no issues with the good ones. Unfortunately, there's only a few of them out there. So, for the Karens out there, when comments are being made or whatever, they're not being made at the exclusion of women, the women that are being faced with this, or the women that are supporting their husbands, boyfriends, whatever, that are going through this. What we're going to do is tackling the injustices many fathers face in family courts and the emotional toll of parental alienation. Show's going to dive deep into the personal, legal, and systematic challenges parents encounter. It's also a show where I get to talk about things that piss me off, and it's going to have my brand of humor. Again, my show. We're going to talk about the things I want to talk about. Of course, people can enter in their comments, and we'll go through them. Actually, I have a section in here. It's going to kind of talk about some of the things that we've seen on the Pissed Off Parent Facebook page in particular. Also, it's currently just streaming on Facebook right now. As I've mentioned to a few other people that have been following along in the journey, I got to code the multi-stream piece to get into YouTube and all the other fun stuff. So let's see here. Okay, yeah, we're going to have raw, honest conversation. Yeah, I think everyone that knows me at this point knows that I'm going to keep it real for everybody, keep it Audi 5000, as it were. I was getting ideas for this and what to put, and again, this is, not me. I had at Wordsmith. I'm not smart enough to come up with this stuff on my own, but it was funny when they talked about expert insights and they had family law attorneys and therapists. I laughed, and you'll see there on the screen that I went ahead and blocked it out because I have nothing. I'm not a fan of family law attorneys or therapists, and I'll get into that as well. But more so, people that are in the trenches. We've got guys out there that have beat the system, and hopefully as this thing takes off and becomes a bigger thing, that we'll get more of those people on. They can actually share their experiences, successes, failures, and all that good stuff. Again, we're going to try to keep it real up in this piece, as the youngins say. And the overall goal here is we're fighting for equality. And again, it's mostly men. We've talked about, everyone knows that 80 to 90% of custody situations favor the mother. Courts overwhelmingly bias against fathers. We're just wanting equality. And basically it spotlights advocacy efforts for shared parenting, legislative reform, and giving listeners actionable steps to make a difference. What I want to do also is make this fun, because again, you guys are going through hell, not seeing your kids, dealing with crazy child support, all the other nonsense, and you need to have a safe space. Some of the other shows that I've been on, and other folks I've worked with seem to enjoy that brand of, it doesn't always have to be doom and gloom, and it doesn't have to be. I know this sucks. I've been there, but it doesn't have to suck. You have to embrace the suck and find a way to keep fighting, especially for your kids and yourself. Let's see. Okay, yeah, support and solidarity. Again, I got all this kind of bullet pointed out. Community-driven platform where parents can share their frustrations, victories, and advice, creating a space for solidarity and empowerment. It's just, nerd multisyllabic speak here for we're all in this together. I mean, when I went through this, as many of you going through it, you felt all alone. This show is one piece of a larger thing where people are... they're not going to be alone. They can reach out to different avenues, different people, and get the support that they need. And whether you're a parent battling alienation, fighting for custody rights, or seeking justice in an unfair system, the Pissed Off Parent Show is your go-to source for unfiltered discussions, expert advice, and a community that understands your struggle. I think that's safe to say across the board. And it's going to be, again, an unfiltered. Going with community guidelines, because there's all kinds of stuff we can't talk about and things like that. But we're going to jump into this and hopefully have some fun, learn a little something, and get you through another day. And that's, for a lot of people, that's probably the most I can hope for. Okay, let's see. Gotta do I'm not a lawyer, thank God. But nothing on the Pissed Off Parent Show, the website, the app, any of that stuff is to be construed as legal advice. I get people that for some reason think I'm an attorney. If you look at me, you know me in real life. I don't know how you can make that mistake. Yeah, I understand the law, blah, 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 blah. But I'm not an attorney, and please don't insult me by equating me to one, because I'm not, and I don't ever want to be one. Also, the advice is that I give out is worth what you paid for it. So, big goose egg. And then I have this actually on the website and the app at the bottom, and I figured, what the hell, I'm not an attorney. More importantly, I'm not your attorney. The information provided on the website, the app, blah, 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 is not intended to constitute legal advice. Instead, all information, content, materials available on this site are for general information purposes only, and hopefully a chuckle or two. Okay, we're just going to get it out of the gate here and just start out with my story. When I talk to people about my story, and this is general advice for everybody, most people, and I'll just point out there, most people, when they start talking about their journey, their story, you come off as nutty, as crazy. You want to get every little dig in, and I get it. The anger, everything's raw. You probably don't have your kids. You have all these other issues, and it's just raw. And when someone finally says, "Hey, man, what's up?" You just, the word salad, the verbal vomit, all those catchphrases just start coming out of you, and you come off as nuts. I'm going to try to tell my story. I'm going to keep it, it's going to be a little bit longer than the 2 to 3 minutes, but you want to keep your story at the highlights, the basics, the factual data when talking with someone. So, one, you don't lose them, and they don't go off, they don't think you're nuts and move on to another topic. But let's just kind of dive into my story. So, first off, I like to kind of bear it all out there. I try to be a very transparent person. I'm a 52-year-old guy, married for the third and hopefully last time. Let's see here. I can't remember the order I put all this stuff in. And I get people that when they talk to me, they think, and again, I find this hilarious. They think I'm intelligent. They think that I, was rich growing up, or I went to an Ivy League school. I don't know what it is. And I just want to say, dude, I am as country as you can possibly be. I grew up in a small country outside of Missouri. It's a small little town. It's 2 bars, 1 church, and no one will admit to who put a shotgun blast through a stop sign, the only one that is in town. Little joke there. But, very humble beginnings. I did have a bad childhood. This is not my therapy session, but just kind of giving you an overview here. I was fortunate in my situation, and I can say that even though I had a bad childhood, is that my dad fought aggressively to be in my life, and he actually ended up with kind of pretty much a primary custody situation. Thinking back, it didn't make sense then, but it makes sense now, having been on the other side of it and dealt with it myself. But he busted his butt to make sure that I was that he was in my life, I was in his life, and got to impart a lot of things on there. And actually, that's a picture of my dad. He's been gone now for about 12 years, and actually my two boys. They're a little older now, but that's them. I love that picture. Actually, I have it hanging up in my office here as a continual reminder. It's just something, it's one of those, until you lose a parent, this may sound a little weird, but it's just something that at least us guys do. All right, so let's see here. Let's kind of continue on, make sure I'm clicking through properly. As I mentioned, I've got two bio boys. They're now 23 and 18, both doing pretty good, and I'll get more into that story here in a bit. And I have one bonus daughter from my third marriage. She's 19 now. And just again, this is bullet point. This is kind of how I would recommend people tell their story. My first marriage it lasted for about 17 years. I've been divorced for a decade now. And my second marriage, and I'm going to go ahead and say it again, I'm probably very transparent. I was stupid. When I got divorced from my first wife, I couldn't imagine that any other, she was the only one that was nutty or that was bad. I was wrong. I'm going to go ahead and say that now. Met a lady, and it was, she couldn't wait to get married. The red flags, there were so many red flags in the play. It was insane. But it was over before it started. Pretty much what I commented there, that on paper we were married for about 6 months. Could not wait to get out of that situation as quickly as possible. But it pretty well went nutty as soon as that ring went on the finger. And I'm sure there's some folks out there that probably can agree there. And now with my current third wife, I've been married for 7 years now, and everything's going pretty good. She keeps everything under wraps, puts up with my stuff here. In my first marriage, I want to talk about red flags, and some of these might sound, they might hit right here. So I married my mom. I won't go into too many details here, but my mother has a pedigree of wackadooey, and actually spent time in the wonderful happy houses and stuff like that. So, and she has a pedigree. I ended up marrying my mother, and that's what a lot of people that have been hurt do. So if you're a younger gentleman or lady, be aware of those things. The relationship, I was never good enough for her, no matter what I did. And I couldn't find the PowerPoint presentation I made for myself that was titled, "I am not good enough." That just lets you know how many issues I had with that. But no matter what I did, it was never good enough. If I could cure cancer, and it wasn't good enough. I could fix an issue, it wasn't good. And people that have been through this understand that. There's always conditions in the relationship. If you don't do this, I will divorce you. Funny story, and I should have Google mapped it, but I still remember when I was married to my first wife, and I wasn't doing too well at my job. I was it was numbers based, and it was a high turnover type of role, and I was younger. I remember telling her that things were looking bad, and kind of looking for support, opening up. And this is why men don't open up to women. That's just kind of how that works. So we're driving along, and I'm telling her this, and she looks at me and she says, "If you lose your job, I will divorce you." And we can say whatever we want to about it. 20, almost 30 years later, I still remember it like it happened, yesterday. Nothing I ever did was good. It's so, it was such a big thing that I actually wrote it twice. Nothing I ever did was good enough. That was, I just want to drive that point home. And she was lazy. That was a red flag. And I haven't shown this video publicly, but I'm going to show it now real quick. And this was, and actually my current wife, when she knows about the video, my current wife, she wants me to make it expressly understood that this is not our current home. This was my first wife, and this is kind of what I came home to. And real briefly, I tried to have a traditional relationship with my first wife where it was traditional roles. The man went out, worked, and the wife stayed home. And I believe this is before we had both of our kids at that time. But I worked full time, and then she took care of the house, took care of the house, and you'll see that in a moment. But so we had those traditional roles, and there's so much, and this is where the whole I could go on and on and on and on, and then lose everybody. But I figure I'll show the video, and then you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Let's see if I can get that started. Now, this was just kind of set it up. This was again the house that we had while we were still married. First wife. I want to make absolutely positive. Get that across just so we all understand. This is not my current. This is not how I do things currently. And actually, I'll play it while I'm talking just to kind of fill it all in here. But this was when I came home one day, and this is I believe a day or two after actually I would clean the house, and then she would go through and mess it up. But this is. We had a 2-story home, but this is what we dealt with. Oh, and also at this for the last few years of that relationship, that marriage, she actually lived upstairs. I lived downstairs with the kids, and she lived upstairs on her own. She didn't, want to be with me in any way, shape, or form. But this was the second story, and I'll just let that play and just let you all drink that in for a moment. But this was a Tuesday in my world. And actually a little funny thing at the very end of it, because I always like to have at least some kind of humor. And again, this is again 10, 15 years ago, so this was obviously the camera wasn't the best. And this was my ex-wife's bed. This was her bedroom. And again, I paid for everything, but yeah, this she had her own living quarters. And I'm hoping that kind of gives you. There's me with dark hair. I didn't have gray hair then. But that hopefully. My slides. Let me just click through here, and there we go. But that gives you an idea into what I had in the household and what I was dealing with and trying to. And every day I had to go to work, put a smile on, for the kids and everything. But the other red flag, or others red flags, but she spotted the feminist nonsense, and that was the whole women are better than men, men are stupid, she does everything, I'm worthless. The idea, it probably doesn't. I don't need to talk about too much more because I think everyone who has dealt with that knows exactly what I'm talking about. She also became very disrespectful. That one of the things that men need to have is respect. In a relationship, and I'm gonna go ahead and get to the Karens right out of the gate. I'm actually surprised no comments yet, but right out of the gate, women need to be respected too. Of course, no one's saying you're not, but men is especially a big deal to be disrespected, and we don't like it. And disrespect came in many forms: just words, deeds, inactions, and doing a number of other things that were very disrespectful. She also, again, she was doing her research. She was, trying to, and again, when women tell you they don't have a plan, they do have a plan. They are planners when it comes to this. But she had been doing research and trying to figure out how to bury me. So I started picking up on her using words like abuse for everything. So if she said she wanted to go on a trip somewhere, she wanted to buy something stupid for the house that we, couldn't afford. I mean, she didn't manage the finances I did because she was horrible at it, as are most women. So when she would say, I want to do this, I would say, well, no, we don't have it in the budget. You're financially abusing me. If she wanted to go do, something, and I'm like, look, I've got to work. I can't take care of the kids. You're abusing me. If she were to say, the sky is purple, and it obviously wasn't, you're verbally abusing me. So every conversation with her had the word abuse in it. Oh, and I actually listed the examples: financial abuse when I question her about spending, and that's a whole other story. Verbal abuse when I would disagree with her on reality, and then suddenly she wanted her independence. That was, and when I say that, she would say things like, "I, want, I want my name on all the assets," and it didn't make sense. I mean, when we got married, actually, we didn't have anything. I worked hard to get that, to make that happen. And just for the Karens out there, we were actually married for I think 5, 6, 7 years before we even had children. She stayed home and didn't do these things. And let's be real, after the 2, 3, 4 years of taking care of them at home, they go off to daycare, they go off to kindergarten, stuff like that. So I mean, I again, this is a real talk kind of show, not a let's do the BS nonsense. But anyway, she wanted to have her name on all the assets, and when I would buy a car, or actually, I think her name was already on the house, but it was out of the ordinary, didn't make sense. And I would ask her, well, I mean, it's something you have to do. It's not just wake up and it's there. And I would ask her, she's like, well, you just never know. Another big red flag. So, the net, this is where, gets it, the other parts of it. So I, like a typical guy, I started doing more. I started thinking that there was something that I could do to change her mind. Or to make her feel better. So when she would say that she couldn't handle the kids, I would work all day. I would take the kids, which I love doing. I love my kids, and it wasn't like a huge issue. But I would, make it a point that on Friday and Saturday nights, I would go ahead and take the kids and keep them out until 10, 11 at night doing different things, or to give her alone time, which was confusing on its own. But here we are. But when that didn't work, we both wanted to go to counseling in different times for different reasons. I had, reasons to save the marriage. She had reasons to she wanted to make me look bad. And it was funny because on the 4 separate times and I wasn't saying times, it was 4 separate periods of time where we went to a new counselor each time after a number of visits. They would come back and say, we're not allowed to, say that it's so-and-so's fault, but it's her fault. And then when that would happen, she would then say, I don't want to talk about it anymore. And then we'd reset for 3 months and then try it again. And anyway, after all 4 of those failed, I tried. I tried. We finally did get divorced after 3 attempts. So after the second one, again, we had the game playing up for 1 and 2. And now I later understand why it was done that way. But after the second time, she, came back and said, "Oh, I want to be married again." I was silly, whatever BS excuse I could care less about. I said, you know what? If this is costing me thousands of dollars in heartache and problems, if you do it again, that's it. We're finishing this puppy up, and I am not taking my foot off the gas. And sure enough, probably about 6 months later, she pulled her crap again. She thought she had all of her ducks in a row from all the attorneys and all the self-help groups that she's been dealing with to put the nail in my coffin. And I figured that was her best shot at it. So, bam, it happened. When I went in and, I went ahead and did the typical dumb thing that guys do. I Googled, family, family, father's rights attorneys, and don't ever do that. And I assumed that once I got a father's rights lawyer, or I'd watch Matlock and all that, I assumed that it was they're going to represent me. Of course, now a decade later, and even earlier on, I understand that's not the case at all. It's all about money and assets and how to ensure that they can transfer all of your assets into their back pocket. So when I started figuring that out, obviously I kept my cards close. That's another thing, is when, if you're doing some of this stuff, you keep your cards close to you. You don't even tell friends, because you don't know who's, secretly filtering information or doing whatever. And there are people out there like it. So I'm going to start researching my the data on my own, and I learned that there was not a lot of information out there for equal rights or parental rights or father's rights, especially. It was all really geared towards women. They had a monopoly on the topic, and there really wasn't a whole lot there. But I found out in my county, fathers get equal access less than 5% of the time. And seeing how this was going to go, I knew my attorney and her attorney, they had our bank statements, because that's the first thing that you do in court, and I knew that they were going to try to drain us dry. So I figured either the lawyers get it and I still get nothing, or I give it to my ex-wife and I get my kids half the time. So we sat down, I slapped that on the table, and she signed off on it. I was, again, child support was separate. So I had to pay, even though I had equal shared custody, 50-50, a 223 RAP plan, I was still forced to pay $1,000 a month for both my boys, 50% custody, and then of course all the medical, dental, and all. Actually, it was funny. At the time, the state law, it was only medical. I of course did their dental and eye vision until they later required it and told me that it was they had to do, the way the law changed, or whatever, and they made it that they did it. I'm like, I've been doing it all along their entire lives, but a whole different topic. But anyway, knowing how this was going to work, I decided even at that time to play chess, not checkers. My ultimate goal was my children and staying in their lives, because I saw what happened, and I was learning and going back to the original data, what happened to kids that don't have equal time with their parents, and I saw that. And I, actually, right there, again, I didn't have very affectionate. This was a screenshot from a long time ago. Didn't have the nicest things to say about her. Still kind of don't. I've gotten over a lot of that, but it's kind of where we're at. Let's see here. Oh, and then what's funny is, after I did all that, after when I got remarried the second time, and then, knocked her to the curb, I get an email from my first ex-wife wanting to get back together, and I'm like, oh, hell no. And I decided, or I didn't even decide, I just went ahead and said, didn't even respond, and was like, nope, dodged the bullet and went on about my life. And then, again, playing the long game, and that's what I would advise a lot of people to do, is to play the long game in this one. She tried, after I rejected her, she tried the typical games that they all play. It's not even worth going into detail, but, over the next couple of years, blah, blah, blah happened. And all of a sudden I get an email telling me she's moving back to her home planet, and I actually got 100% custody at that point, because the kids were, here in my state. Funny enough, the state required, even though she didn't have a job, still she hadn't worked her entire life, but they went and put her on $120 a month in child support. And again, for the Karens out there, I never kept a penny of that. Actually, it sat on a debit card, as I'm sure a lot of the ladies will know. It comes like a little debit card. And when my youngest son turned 18, I handed him what was on that card. Now, she does owe me, I say me, she does owe 2+ years of child support, and we'll talk about that here in a bit, but she's 2 years behind, and of course the OAG, Office of the Attorney General, won't do anything about it. A little bit more about me. I spent the last decade, even when I went through, it, and now, my kids have aged out. I really should be playing golf, playing video games, doing something else, but, I do have a desire to help people, but, what I've spent here the last decade, fighting for equal shared parenting. I've been doing it free of charge, because I understand a lot of the parents, folks that are in this, can't afford anything because they, had their life savings wiped out. And then just kind of a thing that I do for free to help people. Everything I'm doing, I'm trying to help people with that, including the show. But, I've spent countless advocacy hours. There's a lot of stuff people see that I do that everyone sees. And then there's, of course, all the stuff behind the scenes that no one knows about, and will never know about, that I do. I just wanted to make kind of that known. Some of the things I did, since there wasn't a lot of information out there, I built a website called Piss Off Parent. And even though it's on the website, people continually ask me, where'd you get the name? And it's almost probably verbatim as far as what's on the website, but I was sitting around trying to figure out how to do it. And it was after I tried to work with a few other advocacy sites, and it just, let's just say I decided to go on my own. But I was like, I don't want to have one of those cute, flowery names. I mean, it just didn't make sense. I mean, I'm a pissed off parent. I mean, you're going through this, you're pissed off. And then I went, Actually, I think my wife said, you should do Pissed Off Parent. And I went, all right. Did the name search, and it was available, and I went ahead and took it, and Pissed Off Parent was born. I maintain that website. I've actually built an app free of charge for everyone. It costs me a lot of money every year. Not to mention that, that's just the money part, the time and the effort and everything to do this. But I've built both apps for the iPhone and Android, and it actually provides a lot of good free information, and it'll always be free. I've also, again, I like to do, video work and stuff like that. And I do it for this arena as well as a number of others, and that's just side stuff aside from my primary job that I do every day, because I like to help people. But I've made, hundreds of videos. And I do a lot of tech support and other types of support for a number of groups that are out there that may not have kind of the background I do. Again, I'm trying to help people And I just want that to kind of to be known, because there are a lot of people that, again, damaged, that they are. They like to, I don't know, for some reason, throw a lot of hate and stuff like that. And I'd like to say I like to spend time trying to figure out why, but I don't think I'll ever live that long. So I just want people to know that all the things that I do, the time spent is an altruistic, trying to help people. I don't want recognition, fame, money, clout, and all the other nonsense. My goal, and I guess the only selfish reason I'm doing this is I don't want my boys to go through what I did. I mean, that's actually, I've said that I think every show I've ever done, is I don't want them to go through what I went through. And the only way that change is going to happen is y'all. So anyway, that's my condensed story. It probably went on a little bit longer, just because I branched out a little bit because I wanted to kind of detail it. I would, say that people, I would sit down and bullet point out your story, and then from there, condense it down even more. And at that point, you may have your story. So when someone asks about it, you can then just give them your story, and you won't sound nutty. I want to go ahead and move on to the next segment. I kind of want to do segments in the show here, and then again, this is kind of a test, the whole thing, just to see how that works, or see how it's received, and if I can pull off any glitches. But the next one, next time I wanted to bring up here, is the legal word of the day. I'll try to put in some funny stuff later, but the word of the day here is custody interference, and I just kind of Googled the thing there. Of course, everyone should probably know what it is, but it occurs when one parent deliberately disrupts or obstructs the other parent's legal custody or visitation rights, often in violation of a court order. This can include actions such as refusing to hand over the child at the agreed upon times, preventing communication between the child and the other parent, or moving the child without consent. Custody interference can be a form of parental alienation and may result in legal consequences such as modifications to custody arrangements. Sorry, I just read that part for the first time. That's hilarious. Fines, also LOL out loud. And then severe cases, criminal charges. Rare. Yeah, I call it the Diet Coke of state jail felonies. In Texas, where I'm from,
Hi, Dwayne from Pissed Off
Pause
Parent
that real
here.
quick. Where I'm from, that's where I named it the Diet Coke. It's actually a state jail felony, 2503, and the amount of just ridiculous stuff that happens with that, and the willful desire not to obey that part of the law is crazy. And there'll probably be people in the comments or somewhere else that are like, it's a civil matter or some other nonsense. It's State Penal Code 2503. State Penal Code. And if that's not low shelf enough, read a few sections down where it talks about other things that I think we'd all agree are state jail felonies. But anyway, I've done a lot of work on that. Actually, I included a spot here, a video. It was one of the cartoons I've made years ago that walks you through. I won't play the video here. You can go to YouTube and play it there. But, it walks through every part of it. Again, it's on YouTube. It talks all kinds of fun stuff, what's happening. And actually on the website, which I didn't include here, you can go to pissedoffparent.com, and for most of the states, I have a process that you go through. Is actually pretty much this. I think that was it. Nope. There we go. It actually walks you through what you should do in the event you're a victim of custodial interference. And I would emphasize, number one, remaining calm. Impossible to do, but you've got to remain calm. And then it actually has hot links and ways to go about that to at least push forward and trying to get time with your child. Quickly moving on to the next part here, keep kind of fun, is the Facebook Clown of the Week. I have a Facebook page, Pissed Off Parent, and unfortunately the population, the entire population, not just people on that Facebook page, they don't respond to longer educational things like that. So I, along with a lot of others, have basically become a meme factory, and I basically have a year's worth of memes that I've handmade. I say handmade, but made. That I put out there, and it goes out daily and all that stuff, and it's just something to keep the page alive and keep things going and all that. But what's funny, and I try not to spend time in there, because I learned from a good friend of mine that that manages a very successful page, not mine, but a very successful page, that you don't want to ever spend time really looking in the comments, because people are nutty. People are crazy, and you can get drawn into just a lot of stupid nonsense. And I slow but sure learned that lesson. And every once in a while, I'll take a peek in there just to see what's going on, and it just blows my mind that there are people out there that exist that think a certain way, and it's not just because they think differently than me, but because they just their brains, I guess, just don't work right. Anyway, I've started kind of a segment here. Again, this is the very beginning show, but we're going to call it Facebook Clown of the Week. And actually, this one actually had a couple. I was going to stop with just the first one, but I'm like, no, there's some other idiots in here. So I put a post out earlier this week, and actually I chopped off the top. Maybe I'm an idiot. But the top part that you can't see in the screenshot that I put in here is... let's see, look, son, this could all be yours. And he's, got his son, he's pointing, but your mom felt her freedom was more important. I don't know how that can be misunderstood or misstated or misconstrued or misunderstood. I don't know. It just, when I made that, and I think everyone, putting biases aside, it's a dig that, the family had acquired assets and all that. We all know what happens in family court, that mommy woke up one day, she felt her freedom, she wanted to get out there and experience freedom was more important, so she went through all the nonsense of divorce and everything else to get her, quote, freedom. And the lawyers took everything, and now the kids get nothing, because again, what will happen in family court is that they will look at all your assets and they will basically drain you of everything you have, max out your credit cards, and then anything that they can get, your basically your kids' inheritance, because hopefully you're smart enough. I think a lot of parents or a lot of people are like me. My goal as a parent is to raise my children, give them values, and then when that magical day comes, that they have a nice inheritance that they can continue on with that legacy. And then continue to build on, because I want them. I mean, money, like it or not, is a way for security, and leaving that to them, will help them out. So anyway, that was the genesis of that. And then at this point, I've blocked out the names and faces. Who knows? It's a public forum, so I didn't have to. I'm just like, whatever. But the first person out here, I don't understand that meme. What does he mean by this? Sounds like. Or whatever that fruit is, energy to me. Whining isn't manly. He wasn't whining. He's just basically saying, hey, look, this is what happened. Yes, we get it. You male right wingers. Of course, it's a right winger. Your freedom is the only freedom that matters to you. Stupid on its own. So women should stay in bad marriages so their sons can inherit what is rightfully half theirs. That one I thought was one of the dumb ones, because if you think about it, she's actually making that conscious decision that she's like, okay, the kids could, inherit money and be happy and all that because got mom and dad there, but I'm not happy, so I'm going to destroy the whole thing. I mean, that should be on her dating site so we can ensure that that no one ever dates her again. So you couldn't afford the house without a woman helping you? Got it? That makes no sense. Boo fucking who? That just lets you know how people think of that. I mean, to me, what the guy's talking about is of utmost importance to me. I would say, well, I'll just talk to the guys here. I can't imagine the girls would even care about it. But guys, at least that I know of, their goals are to provide for their family, and later they have an inheritance that they can pass that along to their children. And that they'll be successful and all that. I think that I'm assuming that's a goal of every guy. But again, you got boo fucking who. I mean, by all means, oppress over half the population so tiny little men feel special. Right. So, and what's funny is that, these broads are just triggered. And again, there's a couple of cucks in there as well. I blanked out all the faces and names, but there's a couple dudes in there. Well, I say dudes, that are doing this kind of nonsense. But this is what's out there. And I don't know if I'm going to keep the segment or not, but I guess it's a way for me to blow off steam, because I see some and this isn't the only one, I just see some outlandish, just stupid comments. It's like, these people exist in reality, and it just makes no sense to me. I wanted to talk about the statistics here real quick, kind of moving into another segment about fatherlessness. And this is on the website. Again, all this stuff's for free, data's out there, the links, yada yada yada. But just to, and a little bit in light of the previous thing there, when the father's removed out of the house, the data that we have to work with is that we got 90% of runaways come from a fatherless home, 71% of school dropouts, 85% in prison, and actually, when I use the grapist, 75%, this may confuse some of our listeners, but what that means is when you have a rapist and they interview them, and they had all these feelings, whatever they couldn't get out, and they decided to go to doing this to handle it in a very horrible way. 75% of those people grew up in a fatherless home. Speaking for myself, my dad told me never put your hands on a lady, and that was instilled in me, and even to this day, and that's of course things I pass on to my kids. If that person didn't have a father, and I've seen situations where they think it's okay to do that. Again, girls, don't be putting yourself into a situation. Don't be manning up with a man because it ain't going to work out so well for you. But anyway, 75%, and there's all kinds of other statistics just so you're aware of. But that's just some of the highlights. I also want to talk about a few more statistics here about let's see here, the single family. This is what we have in the United States. 34%. I reported before that 25%. This was as of a few years ago from the Census Bureau. 25% of all children are being raised in a single parent home. And again, from the other data that we can work with, 80 to 90%. And again, it changes. I think it's overall it's like closer to 90 as a nationwide whole. Mothers have primary custody. Dads are weekend warrior visitation and all that. But now as of 2022, 34% of all single parent of all homes are single parent, which is horrible. I also broke out the and again the links are available, but it was. In case anyone wants to know, is this representative of the particular race or whatever? But these numbers added up there. So you'll see that the Black and African American community, 63%, and kind of the reason I brought that up is on a show about 2 months ago when I was on Dad Talk Today. I was talking about before the 70s, before no fault divorce. And before the government came in and just really eradicated a lot of horrible stuff here, did a lot of stuff, the Black family was actually, based on the data, which is available on the website, was hands down the best, the strongest family unit out there. But the 70s, the free money to Black women, I mean, it's the data. You can do what I was called a number of times in the on the show, but I was called a racist. But the data is the data, so whatever. I mean, it is what it is. Anyway, this is represented. This is a graph of kind of where that single parent falls as far as race. Other statistic here is single mom statistics. It's scary. All the child support and all the this and all of that. I would say it's pretty well failed miserably. You got single family or single parent families got 10.89 million. 79.5% is who had filed head of household is single mothers. You still have others there like living with their parents or stuff like that, but filed head of household 79.5%. Of course, and it gives all the other numbers which you can look, find out, and be disturbed by. Another thing is that 20% unemployed this year. Almost half, 45.4%, are receiving food stamps. It's not working. But for whatever reason, and again, this is just something to think about. For whatever reason, we have all this data, and we've had it for decades. But they will not give primary custody to fathers. Why? Fathers, men usually make more money, and we're better able, and specifically financially, able to take care of children more so than women. I mean, it's based on the numbers alone. It's data. Why won't the government and the judiciary and all that start giving fathers or have it to where fathers get primary custody the way we did 100 or so years ago? Money. it's all about money because I hope everybody knows with Title 4D funding and all that stuff, the state receives reimbursement for every money collected and all that fun stuff, as well as some other measurements, which again available on the website if you ever wanted to dig into that number. It's not a simple number to get to. You have to do a little bit of back and forth in order to get there, but it's just one of those things to think about. All right, so let's move on to this is something I'm trying here. I have a poll, and we have I'm calling it MythBuster, except trying to find something funnier to say. But this is something we're actually going to get some participation in. Anyone that is watching, of course, maybe nobody, maybe somebody, who knows. But want to throw it out there as a poll about or to see which sex does not pay child support more often. So basically, you'll have, and again, this is not a raw number. This is percentage of men that should be receiving child support, and the percentage of women that receive child support. Not a raw number, because that would never happen as far as doing that. And what you can do on Facebook is go in the comments section, and if you think it's the men that don't pay child support more often, you would type M. And if you think it's women, you would type W. And then once we get a chance to tally those up, then we'll pop those over and see what we think here. Let me flip over to that. Let's see. All right. And it looks like I don't have anybody on, so this is going to be a pretty piss poor one. So I'm going to just kind of move that along here, because no one's watching it on the live. Shocker. All right, so in looking at the data, now this is from 2018. Again, it takes them a couple years to get that, but I went ahead and found the information on who does not receive payments more often between men and women. You got male, female, so 38.4% of men did not receive payments, and 28.7% of females did not receive payments. So the answer to that is that that women more often than men do not pay their child support. So little food for thought there. Next time we say you talk about the deadbeat dad, and it's always the actual deadbeat's the female. And that's, again, data. You're free to disagree all you want. That's the data. All right, moving on to how to get involved. That's one of the things here. I mean, it's not something that any one person can do. Obviously, we need to get everyone kind of holding hands and working together in order to get this done. And because I'm not going to get the laws changed, I'm not going to change everyone's opinion. Everyone has to get involved in some way. Speaking to fathers, I mean, ways that you can get involved is joining various organizations. I would say actually first, be a good parent with whatever time that you have. Is to be a good parent and not be guilty of the things you get accused of. I see a lot of people that are like, I want equal time with my child, and then you find out that they're doing all kinds of bad stuff, and it's like you can't support that. You need to be the best parent you can be to your kids when you have them. But get involved. Start watching podcasts. Start learning the laws. Again, the Piss Off Parent app and website, and there's others out there, but I know that the ones I've built and the ones that are free have a lot of good information in there for people to use to then advance their own personal cause. But people need to get involved in this more so than just whining about it or not being involved at all. I talked about a case years ago. We were getting the child support upon conception bill. We actually had 5 here in Texas that were being advanced by supposed friends of the movement, but we had 5, and tried to get some people to be vocal about it. And out of 29 million Texans, 7 decided to say something. You deserve what you get on that one. The only things that are going to change is if people get involved. I know it's funner to play video games. It's funner to do whatever than do this. But if you want change, you're going to have to get involved. And 5 minutes of I want to get involved isn't going to cut it. So people need to get involved. That's plain and simple. I've highlighted a number of groups, and again, these are just screenshots that I've pulled in. There's a million of them out there. There's a bunch out there that everyone can work with. Whoop, let me flip back to my. That was whoop. Oh, I'm all over the place here. There we go. There's see, as one of the things with doing the manual thing, but there's a lot of groups that are out there. I'm not endorsing any of them. I'm just going to throw it out there right now. I'm an army of one. Obviously I've done work and have helped out and all that. Probably every one of these groups, but I just took screenshots of fathers advocacy groups out there. And actually, if you go to the app, when you click on your state, you can go down to the very bottom, and if there are, and again, it's not an exhaustive list, but if there is a father or parental right group in that state, I try to list it in there for each of the 50 states, so you can pick yours and get involved that way. But there are ways to get involved, and actually on the website, there's a section on how to fix this mess on the front page. If you click on it, and it gives you kind of a high level step through process on how to make change in your county, in your city, and your town. And I would just ask that people do that. That's the only way things are going to change. But again, I just want to emphasize, this is not an endorsement. I wasn't asked to do this. I didn't actually reach out to them and say, hey, can I put your picture on this podcast? But these are just organizations that I know about and put out there. Okay, what's next? I don't know. Let's see, there are a lot of things. Let's see, I'm trying to think of where I'm going to take the show, what I'm going to do with the show. As you see, I've done kind of a revamping. I went to a kind of a segment-based thing to where it kind of works you through there. It's not just some old guy sitting on here yakking for 3 hours, which I think I've been probably going for a little while now. I'm trying to figure out ways to make the information, edutaining to where you get an education and have a little bit of fun with that. I'm going to try some different things that I think people are going to like. We'll see. Let's see here. I do want to click out of here. All right, yeah. I want to give a special shout out to Eric Carroll, Dad Talk Today. For people, actually, you'll see this on my personal PC, that I purchased it today. Eric Carroll's new book, And Justice for Dads, just came out today. And you can get it on Kindle immediately. You, of course, order the softback or hardback. I'm old, so I like to have physical copy of it as opposed to the Kindle version. That's just me. People like to do things different, but it's the Kindle version is $10, and then I think the soft cover is $15, and the hard's $25, $20, whatever that amount is. But Eric talked about it with Jimmy and myself earlier this week, and talked about it's got a lot of data in it. It's got a lot of good information, and it's going to obviously support the movement. So I would encourage people to jump on Amazon or their favorite book area or company and order the book, read it. It's got some good stuff in there. Offer a review, and again, you got guys that are putting everything on the line to help things out, and we need the support, need the feedback, need y'all to do your part to fix the issues, and that's how change is going to happen. I'm at risk of just kind of droning on. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of close it off. Again, this is the first episode. We'll see if there's going to be more, and then we'll take it from there. But hope everybody has a good day, and we will talk to y'all later. Drop.